يا لغتي عربية حسبي بأنك منطقي وبياني عربية قلبي.
Imperialists, and do you?
Am I? I haven't been imperializing anyone recently.
Yeah, but you try to. Some of you have activities going on trying to fight that. So there are people that are fighting against that history, and there are some people that they want to go back to the good old British Empire day. So they're both sides of people, but the thing is, there's a freedom of speech for both sides, and you can talk about it, and that's the difference. But
no, I don't believe in freedom of speech. When it comes to you see, when it comes to freedom, you have no freedom of speech in law. If you're in a cinema and you shout fire, fire, and there's no fire.
Of course, context. That's why we're in Speaker's Corner, right?
All right, but also if you're stirring up communities so that people hate them and attack them, because every time people like Britain First get involved, Muslims get attacked physically, verbally, they get abused. So there's real world danger and injury caused by these people. It's not just words. Words have an effect and they hurt people.
So why are we not doing the same for the Muslim community? That we have the Muslim cleric, imam, all spreading hate speech in this mosque.
Have you ever been to a mosque before?
I've been to the mosque. I got this Quran from a mosque.
Which mosque did you go to?
I've been to the East London mosque. I've been to the Whitechapel mosque.
Okay, great. That's the same mosque.
And there's one more.
Whitechapel is the East mosque.
Whitechapel, and then the biggest mosque, the one built
East London mosque. So it's in Whitechapel. So did you hear hate preaching there? Did you?
I get some very ultra conservative imam.
Did you hear any hate preaching?
No.
Oh,
they speak in Arabic.
Right, and English.
They speak outside of English. They speak themselves as Arabic.
So you've alleged that mosques hate preaching in it. You've been to a mosque.
There are people that went undercover and took that video of that.
And where does this hate preaching take place in mosques in London?
Oh, there's a lot of London.
Well, I've been to a lot of mosques in London. I've had a lot of khutbahs on Friday. I've never heard any hate preaching.
They can smell.
Never heard.
They can smell it. They saw you like, oh, white guys here. Gotta behave.
No, it's not how it works.
It's gonna be like that. It's gonna be like that. It's gonna be like that.
It's not how it works.
I spoke to Imam. I did not claim the Imam I spoke to spread hate speech, but he's a very ultra-conservative.
Let's get back to one of Golding's, who's a leader of Britain First. He constantly says that Islam supports terrorism, Islam supports ISIS. Now, this is rubbish.
It's not rubbish. Right, it's in the Quran. The whole Islam was started by a sword.
No, it wasn't.
A guy sitting in the cave.
No. Let me explain why it's rubbish.
Start rallying people around.
Let me explain why it's a load of rubbish. In Islam, there are very, very clear rules of war that we have from both the Quran and the Sunnah. These are the words of Prophet Muhammad himself, peace be upon him. He absolutely forbade the killing of women, children, priests, monks, old people, and non-combatants. We have this in multiple hadiths, in mutawatir hadiths. They're so multiply attested and commonly found that no one can dispute them. Right? Now, if you have a group of people who are terrorists who claim a religious allegiance, who are targeting women, children, babies, like ISIS do on London Bridge and so on, these are not adhering to the teachings of Islam. And we know, it's very common knowledge, that the people who do these attacks usually know very little about Islam. They're usually, petty criminals with criminal records. They're usually, drug pushers or whatever. These are not people who know Islam and have studied it. On the contrary, they're usually very ignorant. So not only, but they're not following, they are directly contrary to the teachings of Prophet Muhammad.
That's not very good.
So when Paul Golding says that Islam, he's either he knows better and he's lying, or he's a fool. And actually, I think he's could be both, because he.
That's your opinion.
If he was no, because I can prove empirically. We can look at the hadith, many hadiths where Prophet Muhammad says, "Do not kill children, do not kill women, do not kill old people." And yet, the terrorists target. They say, I've seen Dabiq, their magazine. It says, "Oh no, just target, target anyone, just kill the Westerners." That's not Islam. Now, in Sharia, that kind of activity is a crime, and it's actually a capital crime. Terrorism is a capital crime in Sharia.
Is that a good thing? I mean, should we restore this punishment in UK?
No, I said it is taken so seriously.
To justify that, I mean, should we go back to stoning people or cutting off their finger for stealing?
You're not listening.
No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Okay. I'm trying to share with you knowledge about Islam, what it really teaches. And the fact that Britain First people like that, they lie and demonize about Muslims, and that's why they're hate preachers, and they should be stopped. And I'm glad they're being prosecuted.
I don't believe that's. I just disagree with you. So that doesn't mean I'm preaching hate speech as well. I mean, I just said I believe Islam is violent, and you have your opinion. I have my opinion.
No, see, I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm telling you that what Bukhari and the Sahih Hadiths in Bukhari and Muslim. You know what Sahih Hadiths are?
I don't know what
These are authentic.
I'm not giving names.
These are the most excellent hadiths that have been rigorously tested for authenticity. That Muslims prize above all hadiths.
You see the thing, I'm a free thinker, so I don't believe in this authenticity. I think all the Abraham.
No. I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm simply saying
exactly.
these are the hadiths.
So when you try to prove it to me, this is authentic. I mean, to me, it's like it doesn't make sense, right?
Okay.
I'm a free thinker. You have to understand from.
But what it does mean is that these are the
perspective.
hadiths that Muslims, whether or not you accept them, look to first of all, and these contain the actual words of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which clearly state in these hadiths: do not target and kill in battle, in war. Do not target women, children, non-combatants, the elderly, and so on. Just target the enemy. These are the combatants. So if a Muslim comes along, just as I could say, I'm a Christian, I support the Ku Klux Klan, and I should go out and burn or string up people. I mean, it doesn't matter. I can call myself what I like.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, am I following the teachings of the religion?
Yeah.
And these terrorists are not following Islam. Now, Paul Golding, the leader of Britain First, is lying about Islam when he pumps out this rubbish saying that Islam supports terrorism. It doesn't. It actually condemns it, and there are harsh penalties for those who are involved in terrorist acts. Harsh penalties, up to and including the death penalty.
What is Islam? Islam is a set of ideas, right?
No, Islam, I'll tell you, ask you a question. Islam, a Muslim is someone who submits to God. Right, so they don't submit to the will of man or submit to the political rulers or their desires. They submit to God. And there's only one God, the God who made the heavens and the earth. He's the God of Moses and Abraham and Jesus and Muhammad and all the prophets of God. So that's what it is. It's a faith. You submit your whole life to God.
Faith, yeah.
That's what it is. Primarily.
Yeah.
But with that, of course, comes revelation about how to live our lives.
Yeah.
The Creator, who knows us best,
Yeah.
has given us guidance about how to live our lives. And that guidance includes: do not harm innocent people, do not commit murder, do not kill women and children and non-combatants. So when extremists and terrorists do that, we know they're not behaving
That's the beauty
Islamically.
version. I disagree part. I mean, it's a lot more violent. I mean, woman is second-class citizen in the Quran.
But really,
Yeah. Two women for one man. That's how they trade.
you're quoting from the Quran there. What's the
Muhammad's second
context?
wife.
The context of that verse.
I know the context. The context is.
Let's talk about the context.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the
Muhammad at
context.
the less of the two
No,
evils.
it doesn't say that.
At
It
the
doesn't
time-
say
at the
that.
time,
No.
on my belief,
You're misrepresenting what the Quran says.
He's trying to fight the pagan Arab. So at that moment, I could agree. If you really want me to agree, I would say, yeah, Muhammad is the less of the two evils between pagan Arab and Islam. But Islam never evolved since then, and Islam is like the dark age of Christianity.
Islam is
of
perfect.
Christianity.
Islam is perfect as a religion. We Muslims,
No.
we
Islam,
Muslims are not
Christian,
Muslims are
Buddhism,
not
Taoism,
perfect.
anything.
We
all
agree
of
with
this
that.
Religion are just ideas. Ideas.
Are you an atheist? Are you an atheist?
I'm a free thinker.
Are you an atheist? I asked
No,
you.
not exactly.
Do you believe in God?
I think about everything. I think about being an atheist. I think about being.
Do you believe there's a God who created the universe?
I believe there's a universe that's something that cannot be explained yet.
Sorry, what was that again?
It's something that we cannot explain yet.
So you're agnostic, really?
You can call me agnostic. I mean, I could change any time. You know, the moment like that next day something happens.
So your views are constantly changing. They're not stable.
Confused. No, I'm not confused. My only belief is we have to live our life. It's all about on earth. It's all about the earth. It's all about human race. It's all about living together and how do we achieve that.
Right.
And it's all about decisions, cause and effect. Cause and effect. That's all I believe in.
Right.
And you have to live your life through a journey and find the purpose. I'm gonna quote that cartoon again. Yeah, Rick and Morty. We don't exist on purpose. We don't belong anywhere. We all gonna die. So that's what I believe in. I mean, I'm not trying to be what do you call it, nihilist, N-I-H-I-L-I-S.
Nihilist.
How do you pronounce that?
Nihilist.
Nihilist. Yeah, I'm not really that. I'm just saying that there's no purpose. But the beauty of that is we have to live our life and find a purpose ourselves. Your purpose could be, go to school, study, become a great scientist. Or my purpose could be, eat some good pizza and then do some critique online. We have to find our purpose. We have to live our life, and that's the whole thing. I mean, that's the whole purpose. You have to make decisions, and when you make decisions, there's no good or bad. Indefinite. I mean, good or bad is good and bad. This is on my tattoo. It's all human creations. These definitions are all created by humans. So at the end of the day, my belief is you have to live a life to find out what you're here for, and then make a purpose for yourself, But don't enforce it on someone else and claim that there's some kind of bullshit going on, and then that's why. If the moment you can't challenge these ideas like Islam, Christian, Buddhism, that's when extremism come. It's like tyranny. You can't question the government. Then what happened? You have to fight for it. Civil war. Is that not true in the whole Western society, the civilizations? When there's tyranny, you fight against it. Viva revolutions in France or whatever, and all kind of thing in China. Everywhere, it's all about the same thing. It's a cycle. It's always a cause and effect. It's always a cause and effect. It's what you do, what you have to do about it. If you can't question Islam and ideas, you're fucked.
You can no. There are two things. Let me explain. There are two things here. In Islam, historically, you can question Islam.
They just say
no.
They just told me.
No, I'm saying you can. I disagree with that. We know this from the life of the Prophet that there was a contingent of Christians from the what's now the Yemeni area who came to the mosque. I forget if it was Mecca or Medina, probably Medina, and had a debate and discussion, a dialogue, an interfaith dialogue for I think it lasted 3 days. And afterwards, they left on good terms and they departed. So this is part of the Sunnah of the Prophet. You can. What we have a problem with is not it's on good terms. Yes, they were free to go. They were forced to convert.
Was it a chief?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I wasn't there. But the point is that the dialogue, respectful dialogue and debate, is part of the DNA of Islam. What is not permitted in Islam, and this is the difference, is where people deliberately insult Jesus or insult Muhammad or any of the prophets of God by speaking terrible things about them publicly. That's not accepted. But you see,
not?
But we have that in all areas of life.
Every religion
let me explain. In all areas of life. For example, Theresa May is the Prime Minister. I may debate and dialogue and disagree with her very strongly about her policies. But if I was to insult her and say terrible things about her personal life in public, I would be sued for libel at best, and probably arrested as well. But I'd be sued
what do you call
because there's one thing. We all know what responsible dialogue, and we all know what insulting someone is. The latter is prohibited in Islam, but in our society, in your view, in many people's view, you can insult the prophets of God. In Islam, you can't. I'm sorry that disappoints you. You just can't, because these are the most revered people.
These are all in mainstream media.
I
watch a lot of movies, cartoons, comics.
You just can't do it in Islam. You can't insult
everyone, except.
But we can't insult the Queen. You can't insult the Prime Minister.
Buddha, they insult everyone, but except the moment they insult Muhammad,
it's just not Muhammad. It's Jesus. We're equally upset. You see, Christians need to be.
You can
Christians,
be upset.
Christians
but
need
you
to be
don't
more.
Kill someone for it.
No, we don't kill anyone. We don't kill. We're here every week here.
You can insult my mother. I could be upset, but I'm not going to kill you.
We don't kill people.
Kill you.
I don't kill you.
That's the problem. Why only Muslims do that?
It's not just Muslims who will. There's other
only Muslims.
No,
it's not only Muslims. Who's committing genocide in the world today? I mean, on a massive industrial scale of another religion. Can you think of a religious group today that is committing genocide, to use the United Nations word?
Are you going to bring Myanmar in?
I'm talking about United Nations.
Is it Myanmar?
I'm talking about the Buddhist genocide of Muslims.
I'd like to talk about that as well.
Yeah. According to United Nations, according to United Nations, this is genocide. It's going on. When was the last genocide in Europe? You may not know. You may not know. I don't know if you know. In Europe in history, when was the last genocide of any people in Europe?
That's a lot, I think, but I don't know the name.
1980s, 1990s, in the former Yugoslavia, is when the Serbs commit acts of genocide against the Bosnian Muslims. Muslims again were committed genocide against. The Jews were before that. See, the Muslims were persecuted and killed in Europe and are being killed by. This was done by Christians and Buddhists. So when you say Muslims are most violent, I'd say the genocide that's happening by Buddhists. And the last time it happened in Europe, it was Christians who were doing it.
The question is, why does this genocide keep happening? Why does it keep happening?
Because of hate preachers like Paul Golding and Britain First. We're coming back now to people like your hero, Paul Golding, in Britain First. Because if people stir up hatred based on lies and deceptions,
I don't think it's a lie.
People who are not educated, who basically are not particularly knowledgeable, often get very angry and worked up, and they will go out when the conditions are right, and they will kill and persecute other people. And that happened in Yugoslavia. It's happening today. But it happened to the Jews in the 1930s, and people like Golding are feeding into this evil, malicious, hate-preaching narrative, and that's why we should oppose them and not give them support like you do.
Oppose, like, why do you have to oppose if I agree with them?
Well, for the reasons I've just said, because
I disagree. I don't think that's what you said, and this is freedom of speech.
Well, I've already pointed. His comments about Islam supporting terrorism are false, and I've already given you evidence for that.
Your evidence is your mouth. I mean, I have my evidence as well, right?
I will invite you then to go home, just Google it, hadiths on on war or
Yeah,
on
I mean,
terrorism.
there's a lot of
and
experts
you
on
and you will
over here
see
on hadith.
you see many authentic hadiths,
For me, it's all
historical
about the
hadiths.
concept. I don't care about this. That's like all the details, like all the text and literature. For me, it's all about concept, and the simple concept is missing in Islam,
What's that?
and that's you can't question Islam.
Yes, you can.
You can't.
No, I promise you. Well, when Muhammad met a bunch
is
of
it-
Christians
like I said,
from
the
the
moment they're
Najd
more
region, no,
Muslim
let's look
too.
historically. When the Prophet Muhammad welcomed a delegation of Christians, and do you know when it came to have their religious services? Do you know where they had those services? In the mosque. In
Yeah.
Muhammad's own mosque, the Christians were permitted to have their worship services.
Yeah, okay.
Wow, that's pretty tolerant, isn't it?
Back then, I would say
Yeah,
even
yeah.
Genghis Khan is very tolerant as
No,
well.
no,
Genghis Khan is more tolerant
I'm
than
talking about
Muhammad.
Genghis Khan. I'm talking about Muhammad.
doesn't mean he's
if
the best.
Islam is so intolerant,
Lesser of two
how
evil.
come the alleged founder of this religion, allowed Christians to
Because it
worship
makes sense.
in the
he
mosque?
just liberated. He just
Me-
conquered the place. It's the best way to manage the country.
So that refutes your idea about it being an intolerant religion. When Muhammad himself, and Muslims follow the example, the
It's not
Sunnah
tolerant,
of the Prophet.
It's just making sense. I mean, otherwise everyone's going to
Right.
fight against you.
Let's
I
look
mean,
at the other
how you
example. Have you ever heard of the Treaty of Medina, the Constitution of Medina?
Possibly,
You
which
can
one?
Google it. Just Google Constitution.
Yeah.
So this is where Muhammad was, if you like, the chief of Medina, and he was the chief of all the tribes, the Jewish tribes and the other tribes.
Yeah.
And there was a guarantee of religious worship and freedom of worship and rights and justice for all,
Yeah.
including non-Muslims,
Yeah.
Jews and non-Muslims.
Yeah.
So that's another example of its
It's a very,
tolerance.
like I say, it's a good example. Like for the same for Genghis Khan, he's a very liberal.
I'm not talking about Genghis
Wait,
Khan.
hold
I'm
on.
talking about Muhammad.
Yeah, you're trying to point out this is very liberal, this is very good, but Genghis Khan did the same as well. Whenever they
Fine.
conquer,
Well, there's
they
a good-
pull every religion, come and listen to all their advice, whatever religion right now.
Okay.
But the thing doesn't mean that he's not brutal.
delivery guy.
Even though he did good on religion inclusivity, but he still cut people's head off, and that's brutal.
So-
He's
so-
brutal.
so-
He's as well as
When
inclusive.
was Muhammad-
He's being inclusive as well as brutal.
Excuse me, sorry.
Well,
Sorry to
ask him,
interrupt.
ask him.
Do you know where Pizza Hut is?
Down the road.
I thought he was going to ask a question about, you know, Muhammad Pizza Hut.
That way. God bless you.
Right.
Odin's gonna strike you.
So we know that Muhammad in his lifetime had a dialogue over 3 days with a Christian delegation in his own mosque in Medina. We know that he allowed them to worship, had their worship service there. We know that later on, when he was invited to be chief of Medina, the Constitution of Medina was proclaimed, and all the different religious groups had their rights. By law, this is the Sharia, the first Islamic state. The Christians and Jews and others had their religious rights. But this is the life of Muhammad.
It's
Now,
one incident.
but Muslims.
Isolated incident, that's all.
No, the Constitution of Medina wasn't an isolated incident. This was
So
was
you
a,
have hadith and then you
this-
have Quran. I mean, so many things. I mean,
So
I'm not the right person to debate about hadith because I think it's all bullshit.
I don't think you want to hear anything good about Muhammad. I think you only want to
Sure, you
believe.
can talk about good.
You only want
I
to
just-
believe the worst
I point out the
because
same
you
thing.
are so full of hatred
No,
that you
try to
don't
bring out
want
the
to
good-
believe.
You try to bring out the good of Muhammad, and I try to bring out the good of Genghis Khan. I could even bring out the good of Hitler as well if you want to hear.
No, I don't.
You see, you are refusing to listen as well.
I am refusing about Hitler, 'cause
it's the
I'm talking about
same.
Muhammad,
It's the
not
same.
Hitler.
Yeah,
It's not the same.
It's all the
It's not
same.
the
They're
same.
all people. Are they not all people? Are they not all human? Is
Muhammad never
human?
committed genocide against the Jews.
How do you know?
Well, history doesn't tell us. There's no
did.
evidence of history.
Yeah.
So how do you
History
wait?
written by Victor. But then it's still in the book that it started. I mean, Islam was started with sword. Is that not true?
Not true.
Why do you think it's not true? There's war going on in the Quran.
When the Arab armies went north and fought the Romans and they fought the Persians,
Yeah.
and they defeated both the empires, not one
No,
person.
that was after. That was already after. Before how Islam was created was by sword.
I'm answering your
Near
question.
Mecca.
You're wrong. I'm saying it wasn't. No one was forced to
You said
convert.
the question.
There is no compulsion of religion. There's a verse in the Quran. No compulsion of religion. When the Arab armies went out after Muhammad's death, under Umar and Uthman and so on, no one was ever forced to convert to Islam. No one. You look at me like that, but this is a historical fact. No one was ever
See,
forced to convert.
You read about. I read different things to see. It's like we have
Well,
different
what
ideas.
things do you read? Tell me what you've read. I don't mean Paul Golding on British Film. I mean actual
Yeah.
historical evidence.
Everywhere.
Okay, just give me one. Just one. Just
Yeah.
indulge me. One bit of historical
and
evidence from
and
the time.
different part on the
Have
internet.
you read any historians on this subject?
Historian, I mean, even historian can't prove everything, you know. It's all subjective.
No,
Like I said, history are
all
written by
subjective.
Victor.
No.
History are written by Victor.
No, it's not all subjective.
It's not black and white in history.
No, because we have many different records, both on the
How
Islamic
do you think
sources
Islam
and the
can fight off
non-Islamic
the
sources.
invaders? I mean, not
So,
invaders. the pagan
can I come
Arab.
back to this point about history being subjective? We have historical sources from the Islamic
everyone
sources,
debates, right?
and we have non-Islamic sources from the Byzantines and others. So we can look at all the evidence, and we can put together historians to reconstruct, try to what happened. And there's common agreement amongst non-Muslim historians in the West that Muslims never forced Islam on anyone in the early centuries. Okay, there was no force.
I can't remember where I read it from, but what I
Paul
read,
Golding.
no, it's not from there. They don't. They only post Paul. They only post meme. They don't post history text.
No, he makes videos. He makes videos. He writes
fine,
comments.
But the text, nobody
makes
want to listen to
comments.
that. But what I'm saying, I read someplace. I don't know. I can try to find out. And next week I'm coming again. That they try to convert people. You know, like
Trying to convert people. Well, maybe.
By
But
fighting.
that's,
They invaded India.
It's a myth. It's a myth.
No, they invaded Singh. The Singh was fighting the Muslim off. And that's what I read. We can try to go back to that. Muslim did fight with the Singh, and there was
Fine.
forced conversion.
Okay.
You don't convert, I cut your head off. You don't convert that part. I'm not sure it's true or not. But
It's
it's what I
possible.
read.
It's
It's what I
possible
read.
that centuries later.
And I do believe because the whole
It's possible.
book is
It's
violent.
possible. What in Quran? The whole book's violent.
Not the whole book. I over exaggeration. Yeah, the book is violent. I rephrase.
What do you mean it's violent? What do you mean? It contains injunctions about how to behave in war, like don't be the aggressor, for example.
So first part
and if your enemy sues
so
for peace,
why I
then
believe-
then allow that and don't continue fighting. So there's rules for peace and rules for war, because it's unlike, say, in Jesus' time, who was not military occupation, the Romans. Muhammad, like Moses, actually had to deal with people who fought him, because the Meccans, the pagans, came after and tried to
why do you
destroy
hide
him.
behind religion?
And
If
God
you're
and God
fighting,
and God
if
gave
you're talking
him,
about war,
and for many
don't hide
many
behind
years,
religion.
Muhammad was not permitted to fight back. And then God said on a particular occasion, now you have permission to fight.
Yeah.
But do not be the
That's
aggressor.
wrong. That's
Are you a pacifist?
What does it really mean in my context? Pacifist.
Well, it means you're completely against war, are you?
No, I'm just saying when you want to fight or something, don't bring in religion. It's nothing to do with religion. When you fight, it's all human. It's all human. Nothing to do with religion. Religion is about to spread peace.
But
and
Meccans
love.
were fighting Muhammad because of religion, because
That's
Muhammad
why.
was
That's why,
preaching
I mean-
one God. And the
I
Meccans
rest my
believed
case,
in many
religion
gods.
brought war, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, but is it? But the Meccans then, by your reckoning, should not have fought Muhammad, and I agree with you. Because it shouldn't be about religion. I agree with you. In that case, they should not have fought Muhammad. Muhammad should be allowed to preach freely, and none of these wars would have happened.
Yeah.
But we agree.
What does it mean?
Well, it means that Muhammad was attacked
Okay.
by the Meccans
Yeah.
because he was a monotheist.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus was killed and he doesn't rally an army to fight. Buddha, I mean, if you want to fight,
Well, actually, he does rally an army. In the book of Revelation in the Bible.
by someone else.
No. He comes back with a
Ask the
sword
Muslim, they all
and
claim-
he
they all claim
slaughters.
Bible is
He
bullshit.
slaughters. The Orphic Bible, I
They
don't
say
think
it's
they
modified.
do.
They say it's
The
modified.
Christians down here don't think that.
What? Some guy with a Paul name? Saint Paul? Or something? I don't know. I don't know about Christian. Yeah.
In the book of Revelation, Jesus comes back and he slaughters his enemies with a sword, by the way. So don't believe the story about him never attacking anyone. He's no more Mr. Nice
People,
Guy.
that's why I say people use the religion to fight, and that's wrong. And
Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong?
Christian Torah and Quran. I mean, religion is peace. You don't talk about war. You want to talk about war? That's other.
But what do you do? What do you do if you're attacked for your religious beliefs?
If I'm a true believer of Buddha, let's say, I'm just gonna sit there and let somebody kill me.
If a Muslim is physically attacked for his beliefs, what should the Muslim do? Physically attacked? Should you just let him stand
You
there?
don't fight in the name of Islam.
No, I'm asking you what he should do. Does he have a right to defend himself or not?
Depends on the context.
Okay, well, if a Muslim's going around his daily business
why that-
and someone from Britain First
Why does he
attacks
want to
him,
preach and then fight with someone else in the name of God?
if he's attacked for his beliefs, so that happens a lot in the world today,
Yeah.
a Muslim is actually physically attacked. Does the Muslim have a right to
That's
defend
why,
himself?
I mean, we just brought up this paradox. I mean, you talk about religion, and then because all of these different religions can't coexist.
So I'm
that's why
asking you a
they
question there. Does the Muslim have a right to defend himself? He's being attacked for his beliefs.
fought. Not as a Muslim, as a
He
human being.
doesn't.
As a human being, you can defend. If you want. What's
why,
your strategy?
why didn't he have a right as a Muslim to defend his beliefs and his life because he's been attacked?
Why do you ask me? I'm not a Muslim. I do believe in Islam, and I can't say.
I'm not asking you to be a Muslim. I'm talking about his rights.
Yeah.
Do you believe that a Muslim is attacked for being simply believing?
Yeah.
As a Muslim, he's been physically attacked.
It's a context.
Does he have a right
When
to
I
defend
say you have
himself?
the right to defend, what does it mean in today's world? If I have right to defend, I can drop a nuclear bomb on you. Is that what you're saying? I mean, it's very.
No,
when you talk about the right to defend, it's a very grey area. It's a very grey area. And
Why is it
the moment
grey?
you put
Why is
in
it grey?
an eye for an eye, an eye for an eye, that's why this cycle keeps happening.
See, I'm fascinated that even when a Muslim's under attack, this guy would not unhesitatingly say he has a right to self-defense. Even then, this guy will not say, of course he has a right to self-defense. Such is your hatred for Muslims.
I could say
you won't
we
even
can.
allow us to defend ourselves.
I could say.
without quickly saying we will defend ourselves.
I could say, but
This is
contentious.
it's also complicated and grey area that a human being have a right to defend themselves.
Because you just asked me, can you defend yourself? And then-
I'm very disappointed.
Show that
Very
religion
disappointed
cannot
that it's not clear that of course some
Yeah,
people have
you
a
just
right to
show
defend
everyone
themselves.
religion cannot coexist. You just say Muslim can defend himself, Christian can defend himself, the Jew can defend
Everyone has a
himself.
right to defend
That's why
themselves.
there's a triangle war going until today. For these three religions, why? Answer me, why? Because everyone can defend themselves, all of them. They fight forever. When they have started a family, they just tell their children, you grow up, hate the Jew, hate the Christian, fight them, kill them. That's your education, that's your future. That's not how I teach my next
In
generation.
Medina, if I'm not mistaken, when the pagan Arab wanted to attack Muhammad and everyone in
Yeah.
it, there was Jews that were non-believers as well. But
Yeah.
but
That's why I
they were,
say-
they were citing.
When I compare the pagan Arab and
Anyway, I'm going to go now.
Muhammad is the lesser
I
evil.
think we've vlogged this today.
Muhammad is the lesser evil.
Nice to talk to you. Enjoy your pizza.
Okay, thank you. I hope we can shake hands.
Yes, of course. Thank
You're
you.
not Britain, yeah? And I'm not as well. I'm not a British.
I'm British.
So I'm not British. How can
A
I
bunch
be
of
British?
fascists.
I don't have that in Malaysia. There's no fashion.
This was funny.
I came late.
يا لغتي عربية حسبي بأنك منطقي وبياني عربية القلب